When it comes to military history, I think I spend too much time pondering what it was like for those guys, the top brass, the senior commanders, and perhaps not enough time thinking about what it was like for the men actually doing the fighting on the front line. So I've come to the world's best collection of arms and armour, the Royal Armouries in Leeds. I'm going to get hands-on with those weapons used way back in the struggle against the Vikings, but also more recently, like Agincourt, Waterloo, and the Somme. I'm going to discover how those weapons decided the course of a battle and defined the way in which it was fought. How hard or easy were they to operate?
Yay, you're an archer, let's go.
And what was it like to use them and face them if you're on the front line? I'm starting over 1,000 years ago in the early medieval period. Our base is the Royal Armouries tilt yard, but there are no knights in shining armour jousting here today. Instead, it's just me and the Armouries' top medieval coach, Andy Dean. Andy, how you doing?
Good to see you, you well?
Very good to see you, man. And today we're talking about this, aren't we? I mean, what is it with medieval warfare? When I think about it, I know there's all sorts of weapons and weapon systems, but the sword, it is like an icon of the period.
I think partly because of its cost. I mean, getting the metal together and then heating it and doing all the various processes to make an extraordinarily sharp weapon, it takes a lot of time and energy to make it, and then even more time and energy to practice to become efficient. So it's only the top echelons of society are ever going to be able to afford a weapon of such beauty and deadliness. I would only expect the sort of top 5–10% of the fighting force would have a sword of real class. The rest would have axes, bastardized farming utensils, pointy sticks.
Can I pick it up?
Of course you may.
Look,
it is extraordinarily sharp.
Oh, is it?
And this one, as you can see, the pattern welding in it is quite extraordinary. So 8th, 9th century Saxon sword, obviously a beautiful replica and razor sharp.
Is it just because they look good, or is it a very versatile weapon as well? Because you've got a stab, a slash, and then a useful little...
Yeah, I think it's a versatile weapon in the sense that, exactly, you've got two cutting edges. It's heavy in the blade, so it's that concussive blow. It comes down onto your collarbone or it breaks bones underneath. And the slicing and the slashing that goes with a sword that is beautifully treated and annealed and such like means that it cuts through not only skin and bone, it sort of cuts through to the fresh air the other side, if you don't have protection on. That's why protection was so important, but protection was also fairly exclusive as well. And so an entire army, say at Hastings, not everyone would have the mail shirt you'd believe if you saw the Bayeux Tapestry.
The Bayeux Tapestry captures a vivid scene of the brutal Battle of Hastings in 1066. Most of the fighters are carrying spears or bows, but some elite warriors are armed with swords, on foot and horseback, and they're inflicting terrible injuries. Going back up to 500 years before Hastings, I recently came up close with actual early medieval weapons from the 5th and 6th century Anglo-Saxon cemetery discovered at the HS2 excavations near Wendover. Lots of spears of every size emerged from the ground, and a single sword found buried with an elite male. It was almost certainly pattern-welded, made of bars of folded iron beaten together, just like the replica at the Royal Armouries. So, as I'm standing here talking to you, I'm embarrassed to admit my arms get a bit tired.
It's heavy. it's a pig, but if you train with it all your life, it's like anything in life. It becomes an extension of you.
I've been wielding my phone, not wielding a sword. That's the problem.
But it's that single-handedness. So I mean, the hammer effect is intensified in this early medieval sword compared with later swords where the pommel is further down. You've got the possibility of using a second hand and then it becomes much more wieldy. But this, as I say, with the chopping, slashing attacks, you basically got to keep the sword moving. Doing that is going to be hard work, but if you can wheel it and move it around your shield.
The stories about passing it from father to son, all that kind of stuff, presumably this was an heirloom and a very special object.
it will forever be a sword if you keep it well. And what you find is swords that have been used, you find that there's a little sort of curve here and then another little curve here, minute, but it means that people have been using the sword time and time and again, attacking with that part of the blade and defending the opponent with this part of the blade. So as the blade gets older, it sort of becomes almost like an hourglass. So yeah, keep sharpening it, keep looking after it, keep oiling it, and pass it on to your son or daughter.
So can you show me some basic drills? I'm dying to have a go.
Yes, is the answer. We'll set you up, we'll swing the sword around, make sure you're nice and safe, and then we'll put something for you to hit.
The Anglo-Saxon period was frequently a time of conflict, with wars between rival kingdoms and the threat from Viking invasions. The art of the time often shows spears and axes, but swords were at the heart of the fighting too.
Right, what's first? What do I need?
One sword for the use of.
Thank you.
And one shield.
Do you know, shields sound kind of technical, don't they? But that is just a big old piece of wood.
Well, often it was laminated, then sort of covered in rawhide and such like. But yeah, intensely, it's basically a mobile wall, isn't it? And the heavier you make it, the more you feel defended. But of course, that limits its use.
But yeah, my arm, you can already feel that, can't you? Yeah.
You can.
Okay.
Right, so obviously the sword, if you're in a tight press, so if I'm here and you've got somebody there, all you can really do is...
Bit of stabbing like that.
Bit of stabbing
like that.
And come underneath.
Under.
Yeah. Do everything you can as well.
Nasty.
But you'd bring the shield up to protect your head when you did that. But now the shield war is over.
Okay.
Exploded open, and now you've got to use the shield to defend everything on your left-hand side while using that effectively. Yeah. Effectively means a fighting distance. So if I'm here, your sword's no good other than using pommel.
Okay.
Yeah, smash, or even the cross, just smash, get me away.
Yeah.
Once I've been thrown off by, now, the areas you'd go for, imagine I've got the helmet on, there's still areas that are unprotected. The neck, inside the arm, back of the hamstrings is an excellent one. So working around. So if you were going to, don't cut me in pieces, but if you were going to come down, just show me how you come down. Good. Now, if I was really good, I'd move my leg at the same time. So you've got a lot of energy. So step forward.
Oh, God, okay.
There, perfect.
Yeah.
Then step back, you draw the cut back, and if you're going to do the same with the leg, step forward, step, get that leg, and now draw back. It's when you cut with the sword, it's not in. Well, that breaks the bones. Yeah. It's either sliding it forward or sliding it back that cuts the meat.
That's nasty.
Yeah. And once you've done that, so do that again, cut me in the hamstring, I've gone down, you pull back, go through there, out the other side, move on. Because anything more than 2 or 3 moves, and it's not me who kills you, it's my mate to the left or the right or the bloke who's got behind you. So you can't remain static for very long because you become a target, literally a tree to be chopped down. So that movement is everything. And then, of course, you've only got about 2 or 3 minutes of energy before you're utterly broken. So you need to then find, if you can.
Yeah.
Find somebody else, find help, find the flag fluttering in the breeze that says that that's your household and you need to get back over there, because numbers are your safety rather than really weapons. So, shall we have a go with the sharp one?
Is that what, that's blunt, that one?
Well, yeah, I didn't want you to kill me.
Okay.
So Dan, we've got our test cutting mat here. If you're going to cut through this way, make sure that your body is either central or even slightly to the right. 60-degree cut, try and hit halfway down the blade, slice it through. So it comes through here. If you're going to do the same, remember, lead with the knuckles, 60-degree angle, up, hold on to the blade. We'll need it later.
Spinning off.
Right, I'll get the sharp one and we'll have a go.
Right, Andy, this is the sharp edge here. That is sharp. Woo! You can shave with that. So that way, yeah?
Yeah, so wider stance, yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Don't think about cutting into it. Think about going all the way through it. There you go, come across the other side. There you go.
Woo!
Easy, isn't it?
You'd have to do, that sword does all the work, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's why it scares me even this day, after 40 years of playing swords. Doesn't take much for it to go wrong, does it?
That's ridiculous. It just felt like I was just floating, and it just completely cut it off. It felt effortless.
I mean, you can see it's perfect angle, and it's like a scalpel gone all the way through. And this is the same thickness as an arm, and it's the same resistance as an arm.
Is that realistic?
Yeah.
So an arm would be off like that?
Yeah, yeah. Having said
is
that,
terrifying.
if it hit this, then you got some protection. But without it, it's just this bit.
But you can see why, once the shield wall breaks, there's a rout. A knight with a sword would be a terminator to all the lightly armoured people who made up the majority of the battlefield.
Find a bush to hide behind or run faster than their horse, because you're going to die.
And it just felt like a sweep. You almost didn't notice when you were going through.
No, exactly. If you keep the movement smooth and you think about going through rather than into, that's what happens to limbs.
Oh, that is properly terrifying. You can see why, for generations, this was king of the battlefield. It's so effective.
And it's a sign that you are at the top of your game. If you can afford this and you wield it with that sort of efficiency, you are a man of extraordinary power, both on the battlefield and in society.
It's so instructive getting hands-on with a weapon. It's an insight into the skill required and the dangers faced by ordinary fighters on the front line of history. The sword wrought havoc across battlefields for millennia, but it was a short-range weapon. The air above battlefields was filled with the projectiles of ranged weapons that could strike enemies down at a distance. Everything from catapults and ballista to slingshots. Most common was the bow. From prehistory, through the ancient world and into the medieval period, it was a weapon that required skill and constant training to master. We're going to use a later medieval version that's part of British military legend.
We've gone forward a few centuries.
Yep.
Archery.
Obviously, for the British Isles in the medieval period, the longbow and archery was central to almost every victory that we still talk about today.
Why does Britain have this reputation? Was the wood better? Is it just a culture?
Well, by the sort of middle of the Middle Ages, the yew was being imported, so it wasn't the wood as such, it was the fact that we took to it in a very early period in the sort of 11th, 12th century and just ran with it. So we were importing the wood, but every Sunday or 6 days a week, everyone was practicing day in, day out, and that militia became extraordinarily successful on European battlefields.
You're not just wielding a bow here, but you've got everything that goes with it, because they weren't just armed with one weapon, were they?
No, I mean, they weren't the knights, so they didn't get the wonderful, beautiful broadswords and all the armour that went with it. You could pick up armour. I'm not wearing any armour at all, but maybe I would got myself a brigandine or a little steel pot, but I'm happy like this because most of the time my enemy's over there. But you're right, once they close, then basically what you've got here is a small round shield known as a buckler, and off the buckler you have a, for want of a better word, a meat cleaver. A falchion. So once you close with your enemy, then you're using the buckler, a bit like a fist, and just wailing away at people. And again, it doesn't need a much subtlety with this kind of blade to keep your enemy at, at the tip of your blade.
Well, should we have a take a look at the longbow?
Yeah.
Nice. Simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
Simple, but highly effective. The longbow is at the heart of victories at battles such as Crécy, Poitiers, and Agincourt.
That's just one piece of wood, isn't it?
Yes, but two properties. So you've got the sapwood and the heartwood. So it makes the perfect spring with the.
So the lighter wood
is
here.
the sapwood. So
Right.
that's towards the outside and has elasticity. And then, of course, in the belly here, you've got the hardness, so it makes a perfect spring. It can be made out of ash. Most famously, of course, it's made out of yew.
You have to be pretty strong. Again, it's all about a lifetime of practice.
It's
isn't
lighter,
it? Yeah.
and that's why most of our evidence comes from the Mary Rose, as you well know, and a lot of the archers are sort of disfigured in their shoulders from that constant practice across the chest. But the big mistake lots of people make is trying to use their arms to draw it. You've got to get inside the bow and use your back and your shoulders to extend, even your hips really. But yeah, you'd work up. I mean, this is a proper war bow. Which is a bit unfair to sort of give you straight off the bat. You'd start as an 11, 12-year-old and you work your way up. So blokes today can pull 180, 200 pounds, but I think back in the Middle Ages, I think it's nearer sort of 80 up to maybe 150 pounds, but nonetheless.
And is it different arrows for different jobs?
Yeah, what have we got here? Let's first one out. Oh, well, there we go.
Ooh.
That's a sort of needle bodkin, and it's kind of famous for going through armour like a hot knife through butter. We shall see whether that happens or not. But that, I think it would probably be better slipping through a links of mail than it would plate. What else have we got here? Oh, quite the opposite. There we are. That's a huge sort of swallowtail broadhead there.
Very broad.
Flesh cutter. Basically, if you imagine that, obviously, that pierces deep into the meat and it's spinning, and there's only one way out, and you've got to just keep pushing it through. Oh. So basically, once it's entered, it's twisting, so there's no way it's coming back the way it came. What have we got left? That's the arrowhead that most people find on battlefields when they're sort of trekking through Towton or Bosworth.
Anti-personnel.
Yeah, and again, small
flesh.
barb, nice and sharp, small head to sort of find those gaps in the armour. Oh, here we go. So this last one, is kind of the one I'd probably try and use against plate armour. It's sharp, it doesn't have any barbs on it, it's nice and strong, it's got 2 cutting edges on the end. So this is probably the one I would be the best one for trying to go through armour. Not that I'd be aiming at a man where the armour is, I'd generally be aiming where the armour was not.
And so, if we think about the Battle of Agincourt, 1415, where we imagine these archers playing such a decisive part, are they killing French mounted knights just by banging straight through their armour? Are they just discombobulating them by raining down a hail of iron on them?
I wish somebody was there to tell us, because we only have sort of romantic views of it, and we have lots of lists, and the rest is all very vague. I've never seen an arrow knock anybody off their feet, so I don't think they're going to be knocked out of their saddle. The other thing about an arrow on its own isn't particularly dangerous. If you were 40 metres away from me and I shot at you, you'd be able to step to one side and let the arrow go past. Step away quickly. But get 1,000 archers who can shoot 12 to 15 arrows a minute shooting, and generally at close range, then they're picking the targets out. So I think arrow storms are extraordinary.
And would have sent, I imagine, the effect of on horses.
Well, that's what I'd aim at.
Crazy.
For me, if they were closing in, I'd take a massive flesh cutter like that and aim for the vulnerable parts of the horse. If he's got a retinue of guys coming towards him, pick out the ones to the left and the right he's trained all his life with, and suddenly he's got an arrow through an unprotected arm or unprotected leg, take out the horse that he's trained with for 10 years, and eventually when the guy comes off in the armour, that's where the falchion, the buckler, the dagger comes, and then you go where the armour is not. So no part of this is like a Hollywood film where they just roll down and the camera moves away. It would have affected a man's soul for the rest of his life, seeing a brutal and medieval battle and using those weapons.
And so it's such a basic idea, isn't it? You're just using you're using a natural flex in wood.
Yep.
Putting it under pressure, it'll bounce back, and then
it's a beautiful natural spring, and if you use a piece of wood that it's not too knotted up, and your bowyer flexes it again and again and again, chamfers a little bit of the belly wood off the back wood so that it becomes that perfect arc of a spring, then the load across your chest will increase as you draw the bow back.
And what kind of range are we talking about it being lethal up to?
Well, you can drop it well over 200 yards away, 200 metres away. Lethal, then it becomes who are you shooting against? If it's a man in full plate armour, wait till you can see the whites of his eyes. If it is a militia running with sort of pitchforks and long sticks, then just start throwing them up, because it's going to come down at terminal velocity and start going through unprotected bits of them because they haven't got any armour. So it depends on your opponent. But if it's a man in proper armour, and you see a lot of images in the 15th century of a lot of the archers in the illustrations shooting straight. You don't see so many of them shooting upwards. So they're obviously waiting to shoot at close range
Flat
at fully armoured men.
straight into
Yeah,
someone.
yeah. There's as much inertia as you can muster.
And how many a minute?
Again, the good people will do 15, 16 hours a minute.
Wow.
But then you've only got 24 hours with you. So do you use it all up in a minute and a bit? Obviously, there might be young lads bringing more arrows up as you go, but you've got to conserve ammunition. So there's a lot of conjecture, and I wouldn't say, for me, I would probably wait until they're a lot closer and make sure that every arrow counted. But then you've got to have a lot of courage when 600 French knights are coming at it at a flat-out gallop, and someone's shouting in your ear, wait, wait, and you're thinking, I'm not going to wait any longer.
Right, can I have a go at shooting then?
Absolutely, let's go.
On your marks.
Thank you.
Archery training was taken very seriously. There are even laws banning the playing of football because it took time away from practice. I've shot a few bows before, but compared with my medieval forebears, I'm a total novice.
Right then, so first of all, can I relieve you of that horrendous, huge war bow?
Yeah.
This one's still going to have a bit of punch to it, but it's a more accessible bow for somebody who's sort
Beginner.
of starting out.
Okay.
And then other bits of kit you'll require, so you don't get a massive great welt on your left arm. That's a bracer. Stick it on there.
So that's
And
if the string kind of
Yeah.
brushes down.
Sometimes people basically shoot and their left arm is too straight, and literally the bowstring rubs down the inside. So the thing to remember is to keep that front arms down a bit, slightly bending, and lock the shoulder down. The straighter you are, the more likely the string is going to destroy the inside of your arm.
Trust me, I've been there.
The other piece of kit, which I will give you to you in a moment, it's for us really, is what we call today a tab. It's just a bit of leather, and the leather will go through your fingers and basically protect the fingers on the inside. And we can flatten it down, that's it. And basically the arrow will sit in there. Yay!
Oh, okay, perfect.
Ready to go.
Right, all right.
All right. So before we add the arrow, a couple of things. Don't stand sideways on.
Okay.
Come round a bit so your shoulders are facing you a little bit more. Keep both eyes open.
Yeah.
And remember that you're not pulling the string back towards you. Look at the target and push the bow away. Bring the bowstring back towards you. And then basically, if you can, you've got what we call an anchor point here. So you want to come back to exactly the same position every time, wherever it might be. I have my finger just underneath my chin. Other people have different places, but basically bring it there and keep both eyes open and just look at where you want to go. And sort of in your peripheral, you'll see the shaft of the arrow, and your brain works it out.
Okay.
From this distance, aim at the bottom of the target and you should hit the middle of the target.
All right.
Shall we add some arrows?
Yeah, let's do it.
So here we go. You've got the cock feather. On this occasion it's easy to see because it's the white one rather than the grey one. You got the knock it very easily against. Now, most important thing, do not grip the end of the arrow. Let your tab and your fingers be either side of the arrow.
Yep.
But if you pinch it, the arrow starts going off. So leave the arrow alone. Set yourself as we've instructed. And then basically remember to draw back the bow as you push away and loose.
Very nice.
Right, Dan, from that distance, aim here and you'll hit here. There.
All right. Well, you better move out of the way, I think, Andy.
Right, your turn.
I have to admit that even though I'm just standing in the Armouries tilt yard in Leeds, without any fully armoured cavalry charging towards me, I still feel nervous that I'll let Andy, my senior archer, down.
Let it rest on your knuckle. Make sure you're not touching the arrow. Chest and back.
I've got the arrow coming off it. Right, there we go.
Chest and back. Pull, 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 back, back, back.
Oh, that was luck.
Right, we'll give that up. That's perfect. Let's not do any more.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yay, you're an archer. Let's go.
One more, let's see. I think it was beginner's luck. Let's try that again.
Go on, have a go.
This time, the little bodkin head here.
My beginner's fumblings mean my rate of shooting would be about 2 arrows per minute, far slower than an experienced bowman. But can I repeat my short-range accuracy?
Same again. Front arm slightly bent, let it sit on your knuckle, don't touch the arrow, slightly... Oh, okay. All the mistake. That's archery done. So basically it went down into the left, and that's because your hand here went away from your chin rather than pulling back and through.
Okay.
And you dropped your bow hand slightly, and that's why it went down and to the left.
Okay. Shall I try one more now?
Of course you may,
I've got to make up for that.
Yeah.
Shall I go and get it?
No, we got. That's why archers don't run off into the French and say, "Can I have my arrows back?"
All right, here we go.
Nice and relaxed. Don't touch the arrow. Keep front arm bent. Use your back to pull it back. Bring it down. Bottom of the target. Yay!
Yeah, not bad.
It's all right. Right height. And again, if that was slightly to the left, that's again your anchor point is not anchored, so it's going away. Yeah. So you've got to feel the same point at the same time. But yeah. Right. 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3.
3 out of 4.
Practicing archery is all about being able to repeat the action consistently, again and again.
Bring it down, down. Oh, lovely. That was nice strength as well. And you brought
that felt good, that one.
Yeah, I'll have problems getting that out the target now, thank you.
Wow, there's a lot of power in this, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And that's a little bow. You know, if you think 120, 150 pounds, but...
120 pounds means what? The weight?
The energy it takes required to sort of pull the string back from the bow itself.
You can see why they call it the medieval machine gun.
Yes, although you'd be on a charge if you stuck it in the ground. Stick it on your toe like a proper archer.
Sorry,
Don't let the wood get wet, awful man. So this was your first one.
Yeah, lucky, I think.
And that's when you should have walked away.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Second one,
miles
over there somewhere.
Yeah.
But, you know, all this is the size of a body.
Devastating.
Yes.
You can imagine those horses charging down at Agincourt and just hideous casualty rates among those animals.
Yes. I mean, they talk about the bodies being piled 4 foot high in front of the stakes.
Yeah.
And of course, you're shooting, if you've got any arrows left, you're shooting fish in a barrel. And if you haven't got any arrows left, well then you're just literally clunking them on the heads with mauls, mallets, falchions, whatever it might be, meat cleavers. Yeah, horrible. And really, for anyone who sort of travelled European battlefields from the British Isles, this was the king of the battlefield, this weapon.
Well, there's food for thought there. Thanks very much, Andy.
We can never really experience what it was like to fight on one of those battlefields. But handling these weapons does give you a glimpse of the challenges faced by a foot soldier at the sharp end of medieval warfare. In the next episode, with the experts of the Royal Armouries, I come forward through the centuries to experience how gunpowder would change the front line of battle forever.
That was like being punched in the face repeatedly. The power of this weapon. That is the noise of the First World War.
The Royal Armouries in Leeds, my base to explore the sharp end of British warfare by getting hands-on with the weapons that were used by ordinary soldiers on history's front line. In the first episode, I dived into the medieval period, wielding swords and shooting bows.
Yay, you're an archer, let's go.
Now, I want to see how gunpowder changed the foot soldier's experience.
Whoa, that is a heck of a kick. What we're looking at here is the reason for those infamous, horrific casualty figures that we're all so familiar with from the First World War.
After getting to grips with the weapons of the Middle Ages, I'm now moving through the centuries to the gunpowder age. My guide is the Armouries firearms expert, Jonathan Ferguson.
Well, I've just been shooting some bows and arrows, so this feels like the next big revolution of firepower.
It's quite a leap forward. Once you've got the industry in place to produce something like this, and it's no mean feat to do that, you've solved the training problem. You don't have to train from the age of 7 to build the strength, never mind the skill and the experience to land an arrow where you need it to go.
So the normal soldier, typically you'd be given that musket, a bit of training,
Yep.
you're ready to go.
Take a farm boy out of the fields and give him this. He may never have fired a gun in his life, but a couple of weeks training, drill. It's all about loading and firing, 3 rounds per minute. If you've got the teeth to tear the cartridge, the strength to march for hundreds of miles, and the ability to point this in the vague direction of the enemy, you're in the army, essentially.
So what are we looking at here?
This is Brown Bess, to give her generic nickname. You might know it as a long land pattern musket. There's a whole series of them, culminating pretty much in the India pattern used in the Napoleonic War period.
But you got this absolutely vicious bayonet on top.
Absolutely, yeah. It's have a half pike, effectively, with this. Not super long, but long enough to do the job. And then you have the ability to deliver devastating volleys of musketry.
How does it work? How's the gunpowder ignited and the balls spat out the end?
Yeah, so ignition is one of the key bits of technology that we have to perfect for reliable battlefield weapons that we can give a whole army, regardless of skill level. So you'd be familiar with the term flintlock. They didn't use that at the time. They called this a firelock, most likely, or a musket. You'd have a sharp piece of flint, and it scrapes burning hot metal from this, which was called the steel or the hammer or the frizzen. You'll see a shower of sparks come off this. Only the sparks are igniting gunpowder in the pan. It's like a spoon-shaped pan. There's a vent or a touch hole there you can just about see. Yeah. Through into the barrel where you've loaded your powder, you've loaded your ball. That's how it works. Hot sparks.
And that sends the power, ignites the powder and sends the ball shooting out through there.
Tremendous pressure.
So this really was like a firepower revolution.
It absolutely was. To us, it's a beautiful antique, but also a killing machine.
Can I have a go?
Absolutely, you can have a go. I won't comment on the skills until I've seen the results.
Let's go.
The first version of the land pattern musket came into service as early as 1722. The Brown Bess filled the air with noise, lead and smoke on hundreds of 18th and 19th century battlefields, from Quebec right through the American Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars. Now Jonathan is going to attempt to train me to fire one effectively.
Ready?
Ready.
Bring it up to your hip, ready to load. Half cock. It's the expression. Go off at half cock. And then grab a cartridge.
I'd have had a cartridge belt here, would I?
You would. A cartridge, box.
Okay.
It's where the teeth are very important. And you prime using the same powder you're going to shoot with. That's it. And then with the back of the hand for safety, close that pan. Good. So ground the butt to the left of your left foot there. Spin it round so the rammer's towards you. It's always, that's it. Upend it. Make sure it's all in there before you push the ball in. And then ramming that charge, or that bullet, on top of the charge, all the way down. Quite hard, as hard as you can with finger and thumb. Return your rammer.
And you're doing this with the French Imperial Guard coming up the slope towards you?
Yes, but that's why you train to do this, and almost only this, to be fair, as a soldier at the time. Okay, so we are now ready to shoot. So we need to bring the cock to full cock, and then present, keeping the finger off the trigger until we're ready to fire. Again, they wouldn't care about that then. And when you are ready, pulling it in tight to the shoulder, you can pull through on that trigger, using the front sight to aim just as you would with a modern firearm. There we go.
Whoa.
Very nice.
That is a heck of a kick.
It's a fair bit of recoil, but it's more of a push than a modern rifle.
Yeah. It's not a sudden. It's just a really strong, powerful.
Yeah, you know when you've had an experience with old Brown Bess.
I mean, I'm obviously very close to target, but that's pretty good aiming there.
That's good. Yeah. The potential of this thing is better than you think.
I guess the key question is, how quickly can you fire and reload?
3 rounds per minute was...
That's what they were trained to do?
Yep.
Okay.
The stated requirement.
And the other thing is, you're standing right next to each other. You might have a bayonet on it. You might end up whacking someone with the ramrods, or you've got to watch your elbows and watch your eyes, haven't
This is
you?
exactly why. We've done quite a loose version of the drill, obviously, but they would literally have it drilled into them. All of those motions would be crisp. I mean, they had to look good doing it as well.
So your next door neighbour would be doing exactly the same thing.
Their one job was to get this thing loaded and discharged in the direction of the enemy.
There's nothing sort of primitive about that. I mean, that would knock down an advancing enemy. And they were standing so close. Their ranks could be so close to each other, and they were just blazing away at each other. It must have required extraordinary courage and discipline.
I can't even imagine standing or kneeling in that position and just taking fire, giving fire, not knowing when your friend might drop next to you or you might drop. And a wound from one of these balls, as we're going to see, is significant.
It's that thudding sound. It really does make you think you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely more accurate than I was expecting the Brown Bess to be. Because I've always thought they're just they're mass weapons. The idea was just get a load of balls going down the battlefield and hope some of them hit something.
That's kind of their primary role, but the potential for individual marksmanship was definitely there, out to sort of 100 yards.
We're going to do the gel block. I might move forward because I actually do want to hit that.
I'd recommend it.
Let's go a few steps forward, shall we?
Yep.
Just over 200 years ago, a British infantry battalion at full strength could shoot up to 1,000 Brown Bess muskets at once. It was massive firepower. To get an idea of the actual damage they could inflict on the enemy, I'm now going to aim at a special gel block that approximates the damage that would be done to flesh and bone.
Same drill as before.
Now I've got the hang of that.
If there are any loose grains visible, just blow them away. Once you've got the sort of the mouth of the paper in there, you can just give it a shake.
And then it's bullet last.
And then it's bullet last, yeah. That's the British drill anyway.
Oh, fiddly, isn't it?
It's going to get harder the more shots you fire, but try to finger and thumb and just bash it down repeatedly. That's it. So turn the rammer, ready. Wow. Okay. Let's blow it through, lay it down. And it's not looking great for the gel block.
Yeah. Wow, that is that's been absolutely... It's gone straight to the middle there, hasn't it?
I do believe the bone is shattered. There's a piece of it on the floor.
Wow. Right, should we go and take a look under the light?
Yep.
That effect on the bone is extraordinary, isn't it?
That's the missing piece. Now, obviously, in reality, that wouldn't come flying out the top. But if you look in there, you'll see that it's absolutely smashed.
And this is what forensic pathologists and things would use as a bone substitute. So this is pretty, we get a pretty accurate sense of what it was.
It's the same density, it fractures in the same way.
It sent fragments of bone into the body around it.
Yep, there's a huge piece of bone that's been pushed into the wound there. And of course, trying to deal with this surgically is that's why limbs would just come off.
Oh, I see. So, because if this is what your leg looked like, they'd say we haven't got time to deal with this.
Yeah, it's the tissue is, for want of a better word, pulped. The bone fragments are lacerating the muscle tissue even more. You've got blood vessels in there, of course, which we don't hear.
This has taught me to think about those infantrymen in quite different ways. They're standing very close, they're blazing away at each other. It would have been have the courage to stand under that kind of intensity when mates around you are being felled with wounds like this is amazing.
Exactly, the psychological effect is probably almost as important. Not for you if you're struck perhaps, but almost as important as the wounding effect. But infection was a huge problem. It's a roll of the dice, essentially. So you've got the trauma, and then the surgical complications, and then you've got to survive the infection.
I guess to come back to the weapon, what is it about these muskets, these 18th century muskets, that define the way the battle's fought? Just long lines of men at point-blank range, just blazing into each other.
Yeah, but I mean, your marksmanship has shown that, you know, out to 100 yards or so, you can hit a man with Brown Bess, the India pattern musket, as you've been using today. And it doesn't really matter, because if you don't hit the guy you're aiming at, you'll hit the guy next to him with close formation tactics. Light infantry tactics, a little bit more like the modern day, but for the average soldier's experience, it doesn't matter if you miss.
Right, what's next?
We're now moving forward a century in my crash course in infantry weapons. The First World War saw industrial firepower on the battlefield. Artillery caused massive casualties, but the average British infantryman from 1914 to 18 was armed with a weapon first introduced in 1895, the Lee Enfield rifle.
So we have here a bolt-action magazine rifle, the Lee Enfield. Short magazine Lee Enfield, rifle number 1, as some people might know it. Clip-loaded, so you need to open up the bolt, that's it. Grab a charger clip, or just a charger, of 5 rounds. This will take 10, but we're going to load 5. Push down with your thumb, and then remove the clip. And you close the bolt, get used to the weight, the feel, the aim, and let me know when you're ready to go. We'll have 5 rounds.
Okay.
So when you're ready, you push that safety forward with your thumb, and then you'll be ready to shoot. Okay.
Woo.
That's not too bad. That's all on the...
That is a very, very different weapon to the Brown Bess, isn't it?
Yeah, rate of fire, precision. It's going to, obviously it's superior in every way. It's from a different generation.
But, you know, it is the same basic idea.
Absolutely. It's,
using the same,
iron or steel tube, closed at one end, get some sort of propellant and a bullet.
But as shooting it, even someone as inexperienced as I am, it doesn't discombobulate you as much as the Brown Bess. I mean, that beats you backwards, it kind of obscures your vision.
Explosion in front of your face.
Explosion in front of your face.
Tends
You're
to
like,
put,
woo, I'm glad I survived that.
Yeah.
Whereas this, you do think I could put 5, 10, 15 rounds down whilst maintaining quite a cool head.
And they did, yeah.
Amazing. Accuracy, mixed, I'd say mixed bag there.
You're standing up, of course, not kneeling or in the prone position, and you're firing pretty rapidly as well, so your group is going to open up.
But they would have been expected to do what, in sort of 18 rounds? How many rounds?
Well, I mean, that all one hole from this distance in the standing position.
So they would have been standing all through the same hole?
Most likely, or touching at least.
And how many rounds a minute?
15 was the expected minimum. So we've gone from 3 rounds per minute expected or required to 15.
A whole battalion of 800 men or whatever, all armed with those, you could put a huge amount of accurate fire down on the enemy. Wow.
It's estimated that over 17 million Lee Enfields were made in total. It was the standard British infantry rifle of the First and Second World Wars, and was only replaced as a basic infantry weapon in the 1950s. Affordable, reliable, accurate, and extremely dangerous. Now, I'm going to fire at the gel block.
So it looks like it's twisted round as it's gone through. It's broken the bone though, hasn't it? But without hitting it by the looks of it.
It does look like that, yeah. Sometimes the shock of the pressure of the bullet passing through can fracture the bone. Looks to have been what's happened here. There's a lot of tearing, splitting of the tissue.
And then unlike the Brown Bess, a lot of big, huge exit wounds.
Yeah.
What's that mean? Is that just showing that this has got more velocity, more punch to it?
More velocity, and it's a pointed bullet, which will tend to swap ends when it hits another medium, whether that's water or tissue, it will try to go base first. So it's stable in air when it's spinning, but because it's heavier at the back, as soon as it hits something like this, it will swap ends.
What?
Yeah, and going sideways through you is going to do more damage.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what you're seeing there. That's tumbled through, which is why this is very small, smaller than the bullet itself, because it stretches the tissue and it drops back down. And then out the back, it's either come out sideways or base first.
That's horrific.
the Lee Enfield was an exceptionally effective infantry rifle. But the weapon that's most associated with the First World War and did much to force the infantrymen into trenches was this, the machine gun. This is a Vickers Maxim Mark I, first introduced in 1912.
Something tells me that we've been through something of an industrial revolution here.
We definitely have. It happened while you weren't looking, I'm afraid.
This is not quite the equivalent of a Brown Bess musket, like it's not an infantryman's personal weapon. This would have needed a bit of a crew, but it's not. It does a similar job, doesn't it?
It's still portable, but in terms of the firepower, it's just orders of magnitude over and above.
It's a beast, isn't it? It's a steel product of a transformation, how we built things and made things.
You could not have produced this prior to the very late 19th century, essentially. You could design it, but you couldn't realise it and make it work.
Right, so we've just done the Brown Bess. That's only 100 years before, really, isn't it? There's only a 100-year gap, if that. We've been looking at the Brown Bess, 3-ish shots a minute, 50 metres, 100 metres maximum. What's the equivalent stats on this?
People tend to imagine it set up, firing sort of level, attacking troops, something like that. So that's probably the closest equivalent we'd have to how you'd use a Brown Bess. And even then, you're looking at 800 yards, 1,000 yards, the ability to hit a man at 1,000 yards, if you're good enough.
So if you can make them out clearly, you can hit.
Yeah, and 550 rounds per minute.
That's crazy.
A little bit more than 3.
You could, if there's open fields ahead of you, there's troops advancing towards you, really the only limit on your ability to knock down every single target in that space is what just sheer number of bullets you have with you. And this, presumably that gets very hot, right? So is this sleeve here full of water or is this air-cooled?
That is full of water, yeah. That's really perhaps the only meaningful difference between this and a modern machine gun is that we've moved away from water cooling because it makes the whole thing very heavy. But in terms of ultimate robustness and reliability in the 1914 period, you cannot beat this thing. If something breaks, you can swap the part out in seconds. And the barrel is just kept, you can 600 rounds continuous before you start to boil the water in that, and you can still shoot past that. So it does take a fair bit of manpower and a lot more training and expertise and nous than an SMLE, an Enfield rifle, and certainly a lot more than a Brown Bess.
And I guess the British Army went to war with what they used to say, sort of 2 per battalion, didn't they? But I mean, presumably, once the war started, they realised just how valuable these things were.
Oh, they ramped it up as hard as they could. And of course, you had the Lewis light machine gun supplementing it, which meant you could create this new machine gun corps of, I won't say special forces, but specialist troops who did nothing but eat, sleep, breathe this gun, knew it inside and out.
Each machine gun needed a team of 6 men to keep it firing in battle. Everyone had a clearly defined role, from carrying ammunition to range taking, firing the weapon to feeding in the ammunition.
Quite rightly, you're not going to let me fire this one. What do you want me to do?
I'll be number 1, so shooting the thing. You'd be the loader, essentially, the number 2. So you'd have the box of ammunition there, as we have, ready to go, and you'd feed it into the gun.
Feed the belt through here.
Yep, as I'm cocking it.
Right, let's go. So I probably want some air defenders, right?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
I think we're ready?
Let's do it. That was like being punched in the face repeatedly. The power of this weapon.
It's pretty impressive, yeah. A sustained burst like that has a lot of impact.
But it's tiring to operate. Imagine if you're firing sustained. That's a short burst in trench terms, wasn't it?
It is, yeah. 25 rounds is sort of a standard burst. You could do less, you could do more. But yeah, that's really just a taster.
That is the noise of the First World War.
It was a devastating weapon, both offensively and also at short range, like this, in a defensive role. Now we're going to aim at the gel block. The effect is horrifying.
So this is the impact of the Industrial Revolution on firepower, isn't it? 4 rounds and you've obliterated the target. And you can do that reliably again.
Absolutely, yeah, repeatably. It's automated destruction, essentially.
And so we're looking here at the big exit wounds in particular. What does the casualties back, presumably? You can see the front, think something your mate might be all right, but then you'd turn them over and you'd see there was no hope.
What you're looking at is the combined effect, as you say, of those 4 rounds. You know, it's a rifle times 4, or however many times you get hit. Now, this thing weighs a lot less than a person, so it jumped out of the way. Otherwise, it would have kept on firing, and it would have been hit with even more. And that's the classical image of the machine gun in that defensive role and someone just getting annihilated. And this is a simulation, effectively, of that.
And the other thing, of course, this gun could do that to this target up to what kind of range?
Oh, good grief. Well, you know, properly dialed in, you could hit with 4 rounds at, 1,000 yards or more. I mean,
which is a gigantic step change from the Brown Bess, which is only really just over 100 years before.
It's astonishing. The pace of change in the 19th century, and this is a product of the 19th century, although it comes in 1912, the pace of change is phenomenal. This is what really blows, even my mind studying this, is, if you were a boy soldier at Waterloo with a flintlock musket, as a Chelsea pensioner, you could have been behind having a go on a Maxim gun.
What we're looking at here is the reason for those infamous, horrific casualty figures that we're all so familiar with from the First World War.
Essentially, I mean, even one bullet in a limb might be enough for amputation. Well, this is the effect of multiples. The bone in here has been at least fractured. Yeah. It's very unpredictable as to what goes on inside the human body, and of course, a surgeon's nightmare to repair.
So we can see extremely, you're right on target there, those little entry wounds there, but the scale of the injuries can be seen by the exit wounds on this side here. A piece of blown out the back of there. This weapon's so associated with those terrible casualty lists, the scale of death and injury that you see on the Western Front and elsewhere in the First World War, isn't it?
It absolutely is, yeah. I mean, regardless of the majority of casualties coming from artillery, I think that what's in people's minds when they think about the First World War, and the trenches especially, is the machine gun, just rattling away, doing this to people.
Like July 1st, the bloodiest day in the history of the British Army, when those German machine guns just played on those troops marching across no man's land.
It's the ultimate gun in the sense of velocity, penetration, all the tissue damage it can do, and the precision at range as well. It's, there are more advanced firearms since the Maxim, the Vickers gun, but in some ways it is the ultimate gun.
It's been so interesting for me looking at the last 1,000 years of military history, not through the tactics and decisions made by the generals, but the tools, the weapons that defined the course of those battles. Battles like Edington and Hastings and Waterloo and the Somme had their particular character, not because a general decided they would be that way, but because these defined the course. They determined how the fighting would go. And when you get up close to these weapons, when you learn how to operate them, you smell them, you hear them, you feel them. Thankfully, it's nothing like the experience of those men who fought those days, but it does give you a little bit more of an insight into some of the challenges they faced and some of the reasons why those battles played out in the ways that they did. It's been a really different and interesting way of looking into our military history.